Hey everyone, this is Sampada Chavan, and I started the Future Builds for one simple reason. The way we build is evolving, and we need a platform that captures that. There are too many experts in the industry, and let's be honest, I ain't one. I haven't even walked enough miles to fill their shoes. So, why are you here? Mm, because in a world where success is glorified, I want to show you the process of learning, building, and becoming. Consider this your friendly guideline on how to go from amateur to an expert realistically. I focus on topics like construction, technology, architecture, career growth, creativity, and sprinkle in some realities of life as well. The goal is to build ourselves because when you build yourself, the future builds itself. Welcome to the show. Today we are joined by Amar Hanspal, CEO of Motif, a cloud based AI enabled BIM platform built to rethink how AC industry designs and collaborates. Amar is widely known for his long tenure at Autodesk, where he served as a chief product officer and co CEO, helping shape the tools that define modern day workflows. He later co founded Bright Machines before returning to the built environment with a fresh perspective. His re entry into AEC has generated real excitement, and for a good reason. He was spotted on the Forbes Next Billion Dollar list. As Amar puts it, while industries like gaming, product design have moved towards more intuitive interfaces, real time collaboration, and AI driven automation, building industry software is still somehow stuck in the late 1990s technology. So, in this conversation, Amar breaks down what Motif is really aiming to solve, both in near term and long term, how he sees AI realistically fitting into construction, and the leadership lessons he's picked up along the way while building and scaling products at the frontier of technology and innovation. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. So, welcome to my show. This is called The Future Bills. And you can see just from my expressions alone how excited I'm to have you on it, especially in its formative stages. And then talking to you, talking to a lot of people like you, made me realize that it's really time to start spreading the insights that you guys have, especially given your experience in the industry. I am very excited to have you. I want to
Looking forward to
start.
it. Looking forward to it, some of that. It's a fun conversation.
Awesome, thank you. So I want to start with where it started for you. So you were the chief product officer at Autodesk, and you have 30 plus years in the industry. You were also a co-CEO for Bright Machines, and then you stepped back into the AEC industry, where you are now leading Motif. So
Yeah.
what was that itch that you couldn't ignore anymore, and what led you to starting
Yeah.
this?
So look, I think I've always been attracted to innovation. I know that sounds like a cliche, but one of the things that happened to me when I moved to Silicon Valley in '87, came to California, I discovered this huge diaspora of people trying to do interesting things. And I started working at Autodesk in '87. And that team was like it was really early days. It was like 250 people, small company. The founders were very much involved and a lot of thinking about what was possible. And it was really, it was addictive to kind of look at like just the open space of what you could try and do in those days with the PC. And subsequently, every time there has been an opportunity to sort of disrupt something or reimagine a stack, I'm attracted to it like a moth to a flame, right? So I think when I left Autodesk in 99, when the first .com thing was happening, and my two friends and I tried to do PLM on the cloud, right, back in 99. Then when I went back to Autodesk, we were trying to do, the construction stack that people know today. We started building that in 2002. It's always like, and that came because the cloud was there, mobile became possible. So for me, it has always been, what can you do through this combination of what the technology infrastructure can go make possible? And Bright Machines happened because of computer vision. Like it became, the statement goes that computers could count for many years, and then at some point they could see. So what problems can you solve? And what happened for me with Motif was that in 2022, after Brian and I finished our work at Bright Machines, or got it to a point where other people could kind of take over, the hard software stack work was, somewhat in progress. we wanted to do something in the building industry. And so we went back to first principles. What is possible now? And on the other side, we talked to a bunch of customers who expressed sort of maybe a frustration about how their tool stack had not changed in 25 years. And so we kind of wrestled with this for 3 to 6 months about whether we wanted to go tackle this problem. And then ultimately, all the things that I'm sure you are paying attention to in terms of what's possible with technology and this problem was just too attractive. And again, I'm like, all right, let's go do it. So that's what happened.
That's amazing. I mean, I like how you put it. You were attracted to it like a moth to a flame. And that's just such a founder mentality. I love it. But speaking about solving the problems,
Yeah.
what problem is Motif trying to solve?
I'd say bringing a modern approach to building design along. So let's say long term, short term, right? So when you look at how buildings are designed and all of the way people think about the deliverables that need to be created, the people need to be involved. Back to sort of my history with Autodesk, we first tried to do it by automating drawings, then we tried to automate models. And at every step of the way, you can sort of collapse multiple steps into one. So the problem we're trying to solve fundamentally hasn't changed, which is helping people design better buildings. What we're trying to do is change the how they do it. And this time around, really using the cloud infrastructure for very good collaboration, I would say, how teams work together. And then also everything that's available with machine learning to automate a higher level of what needs to get done. So that's kind of what we're trying to do long term. Now we have to do it in steps because it's a very, very large thing to build. Revit took 7 years to get to like the first usable product. And so this will take us multiple years to build. So along the way, the glimpses that we're showing, what we're productizing. So for example, the review product, the design review product we have today is not an editor, but it has the collaborative system we're building. So, so we're solving one problem by just putting out a design review product that might look like Baby Bluebeam or Revisto or just some combination of those two. But it's customers use it. We have architecture customers that use it. And on the other hand, we've been able to build that part of the platform. So long term, building design, short term, we'll take on tasks along the way.
I see. So, this is something I have talked to you about before. It's like trying to build a collaborative platform so all stakeholders involved in that project are in it at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you think the future of the industry is going to more shift into this collaborative design kind of phase? Like, are GC going to be involved in like the decision making more so alongside the architects and what do you think?
So there's one part that I don't know the answer to, which you as an industry practitioner are probably closer to it, which is there's a legal structure to the industry that you can't overcome, right? So people are always, there's risk allocation, so there's contractual boundaries. So as much as everybody wants to work together, sometimes they choose not to for those reasons, right? But I do think that some of the other challenges that have been actually introduced by technology and not by industry, like those can completely disappear. So I'll give you two examples that always, like in this modern age, strike me as completely anachronistic, right? So many people who work with BIM today use this sync to central idea. Like that's like, so you're working and then you got to send your model somewhere. I mean, any other modern application from Figma to Notion to Slack, there is no concept. You're always synced with central, right? So there's an sort of artificial boundary drawn because of technology, because of the limitations of technology, where you may not be working on the most current model because I forgot to sync to central, or I'm not syncing to central, or somebody told me conserve bandwidth or storage or whatever it is. Like that doesn't need to exist. I also look at clash detection. The clash detection is like such a nutty idea, honest to God, right? I mean, and if you look at every other industry, like you look at software, when we write code now, there are so many tools that are built in that automatically alert you to security that challenges that you might be introducing, memory things that you might be conflicting, software bugs. Like when you write code, as you write it, it's telling you don't do this. I don't see any reason why in design, if the parties are working together, you can't actively flag things that you need to do. Instead, we have this nutty idea that no, you take models, you have daily stand-ups, you find the clashes, like that stuff. I think again is introduced by technology because there's no shared infrastructure, there's data formats in the way, all this nuttiness that's not introduced by the industry, that's introduced by technology. I think those kinds of challenges can go away in the new world. What I don't know how to change is if the industry doesn't want like if general contractors and the architects don't want to share models, I don't know if any technology can over.
Yeah, I mean, this is my first-hand experience too, because I work with architects and I work on models, and we only get models once they're done through with that design phase. There is no in-between collaboration that we can, point out to constructability issues like
Exactly.
during the design phase. And
Exactly.
so, yeah, I've been a very strong propagator of, hey, let's collaborate more often and right from the beginning at every single stage. But you're right. Like there are contractual obligations as to why we don't do it.
Yeah.
But I also feel technology plays such a big role in it because I feel if technology is actually improving, someone is going to go back and say, hey, we can do
Exactly.
this. The only thing
Exactly.
stopping us is this
Right.
contractual language, and it takes one person to change it or one company to say we'll do it different.
Exactly.
So I think that's happening. And I know that people like you who are in the industry doing, building these platforms for us, it's going to start with you guys like showing us the way rather than the industry showing you the way. It's
Mm.
going to be, I think, the other way around. But that takes me to another question, which is like the domino effect. Do you think that by building the software that you are, and talking more about your long-term vision, is there going to be a domino effect of like disrupting one workflow and then changing the way industry is doing a certain task completely?
It's somewhat inevitable, Samada. I mean, so I mean, if you just look back at the last whatever 20, 30 years of this history of like when CAD first showed up and drafting tables changed to digital workflows, there were new jobs, CAD managers emerged and things like that, and people changed the way they did things. That's so long ago I almost don't remember. But the more recent one, like with BIM, like you really did change like this whole thing of how you created coordinated drawings became a thing. Like there was like a practice did evolve to sort of reflect what technology made possible. Look, so I think going forward, like I look at where I hear people spending time today, right? So I hear people spending time. There's a lot of communication challenges that still happen. People are still always trying to align people. I see time being spent on creating presentations, nice looking visuals. I see time being spent on, like I told you about clash detection, like finding errors. I think there's also a challenge around expertise, like where every firm has like someone who's really good at deeply knowledgeable about this one thing, but they only exist in this one office. The other office doesn't have access to them. I think those are the kinds of things I see changing with technology going forward. So, for example, I do think with the kinds of automation we're building, not only can you coordinate documents, but you'll be able to coordinate communication. What I mean by that is you really can tell our interface someday, hey, send some of our latest updates, and it will roll up all of the information that's needed and send it to you. Like there is no email, no, switch to Teams. I mean, it can automate all of that for you. It can automate, we automate document generation today. There's no reason why we can't automate renderings and animations and automatic clash detections and all of that on your behalf. I think there's a way in which expertise can be digitized into future AI ML infrastructure where you can get on the spot sort of suggestions literally from an expert in your company. It would feel like that, but it's digital. So I think all of those start to change. And I don't think I'm smart enough to tell exactly what life will look like 10 years from now. But again, just like BIM shifted the load from people trying to manage 2D drawings to like a different higher abstraction, like that's coming. I think people are going to become more like all what we experience with prompting is like you're more giving instructions
Hmm.
and then refining the output as opposed to you're doing all of the work yourself. I think that's what starts to show up in more and more ways in the interface, in our daily life, in our job descriptions. All of that stuff is going to start changing slowly.
That is, I 100% agree with it. And I like the world where, redundant work becomes
Yeah.
just easy to manage and it becomes more like prompting it to do that redundant task and more focusing on like the creative ideas. Like, and this is something that I think about often, right? There's so much that's happening within that generative design space as well. Right. So I see it often where you can prompt certain tools and it gives you five, six different options of a certain building. I see that becoming like a future of how people start to see design. Just,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it also changes the kind of resources then you need to have. Like, do you need people who understand technology? And what's your take on like the skills that someone like me should
Mhm.
be developing at this point? Because it might not be all about technical skills anymore. It not might not be about how you draft or how you draw lines. It's more
Yeah.
about like how you
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. I mean, you're touching on it, some of that. I think, we get pushed to a higher level of thinking. What humans are still very capable of is problem solving. So I've been noticing this, let's say, in our software development universe, right? So our engineers, for example, rely on more machine learning generation code from Claude or Cursor now. So not everybody has to write every line of code themselves anymore, where the AI is writing it, but they are uniquely qualified in actually describing what needs to be done. So they are still kind of the skill set that our team is learning to do in some ways is to kind of navigate what is the right way to frame the work that the system needs to do. And so we all need to step away from all the mastery of, like, we know Excel macros and we've written Lisp routines and Python. That's not going to be as valuable going forward as people who, like, literally you need construction expertise. Like, I mean, it comes down to that, is that in some ways, the people who are real architects and real contractors are going to actually shine again. It's like
Hmm.
in this new world, actually, that sort of hands-on expertise is something that will come back. They'll get empowered, and all the people who are able to work with these complex technology things like that, almost in a good way, just kind of goes away, right? It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, so I think the skill set that we all have to learn is we actually have to go back to the craft of what we're supposed to do as architects or general contractors or managers. And the one thing that only, again, humans are very uniquely qualified to do is actually work with other humans. I don't buy into this bullshit of, the bots will be our managers. That's nonsense. Like, I do think this is a whole thing of, like, how do you work with people, inspire them, align them, recruit them. Yeah, that stuff, that work doesn't ever go away.
That is so counterintuitive because what I keep hearing is AI is taking our jobs, and I see the fear around people resisting AI workflows or any of that because they think that it's going to do the job for them. It's going to take away their jobs. And I'm talking about people who are actually in construction or who are in architecture. And you pointed out very well that it's like it's time to focus on those core skills again
Yeah.
and let AI do all the redundant tasks or even the high skill, the coding tasks. And anyone can be anything at this point if you know where you are coming from, like what core skills you carry. So I think that is a great takeaway. I want to, push back into I discovered you on the Forbes next $1 billion list. And it's rare for AEC startups to show there. It's like a space usually for fintech or, I'll see biotech and fintech companies on there. So it was a proud moment to see an
Mhm.
AEC startup there. Like, what does that recognition mean for you? And how did it change ecosystem in general? Yeah.
Uh, look, the work still needs to be done. It's always good to get recognition, but it's like you actually still have to make this real. We are not worth $1 billion today, or we haven't got $1 billion of revenue. That's still work we have to go do. It's nice to get spotted. And I think it's a little bit of the recognition, I would feel like, of the colleagues we have in our company. Like, the quality of the team is high. The people get the opportunity. They like the fresh way in which we're attacking the problems. So they see the potential. Like, this has happened. Like, I mean, some go back to, and I'm certainly not drawing an analogy to the man, but before Elon Musk showed up with Tesla and electric cars, like cars were boring, right? I mean, for a while, like what was it? You got an incremental model every year, right? What was the most exciting thing? Like the Toyota Prius did hybrid, like, or, some German automotive company added some kind of Apple CarPlay. That was about the level of innovation until somebody showed up and I don't think any car startup would have shown up on a Forbes list or anything because it's seen as a sleepy industry, right? So I think we've seen that there. We've seen it in defense and satellites and nuclear energy, and all these sectors have become much more interesting now. And I'm glad to see that people see the built environment, which is like such an important part of our universe. It's the second largest industry in the world. It's like quite exciting to see that people recognize that this one can be reimagined. Now, for us, I mean, I think our level of happiness lasted all of 30 seconds. It was good to feel recognized, and then we are just back to work. I think what it does practically help us with is recruiting more talent, and sometimes with investors, people feel a little bit more confident that this company is worth paying attention to. But the work hasn't changed. We still have to build the product, make all of you happy with what we've built, really actually drive value. Like that still is ahead of us. So
Yeah, I have really high hopes for you guys,
thank you.
and good luck for that. So I'm moving on. Like, everyone will probably ask you, what's your next big step, or what's the next thing that you're working on? But I want to flip the script and like go back to roots, and I want to know like what part of your roots, whether it's family, whether it's culture, your early career days, what shaped you the most, and how does it still influence who you are as a person and as a
Mm.
leader?
Look, I grew up in lower middle class in Mumbai. You may be familiar. So I mean, I went to a normal high school, nothing very special, or from an engineering college perspective, everything. So for me, I think the adventure of coming to the United States and suddenly being exposed, in California in particular, and suddenly being exposed to, like, when you take a risk, you might kind of get rewarded for it, was probably the thing that shaped me the most. I mean, certainly I would say my family shaped a lot of my values. I believe a lot in, like, my dad was this really honest, very kind person. So I try very hard to emulate him. My mom was always a very warm person, always very, inviting connections and friends. So, I try to live up to those values. But I think from a way in which it relates to what I'm doing now, I think the idea of, and they backed me on taking the risk, right, to come to the United States or California. And I've done it 2 or 3 times in my life. I similarly, halfway through, I think when was it? Like, I just went to Europe in the early 90s and just tried to do something like those kind of big sort of bets, and 75% of them paid off. Like, I think that's been the thing that shaped me. And that's what I keep, trying to do again.
Yeah, your family support is what drove you to actually take those risks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, how do you encourage anyone who's working with you as a leader? How do you encourage them to take those steps or take
Yeah.
risks?
Yeah, it's good, because I actually tell you that that I've learned to appreciate this, that you have to reward people even for failure. If it's from the right somebody working for me, as long as they are not doing something rash, I actually don't mind someone trying and it not working out, right? I'd rather have that effort than sort of this risk averse kind of thing. So I think from my side, just like my family did have their back, in some ways, I think that's kind of the attitude that I try to have with my team, is like, go for it, be brave, be courageous. I will back you. If it doesn't work, it's fine. As long as you're not doing something stupid or rash or mean, that's okay.
That's amazing. That's a very touching story, and I kind of relate with it because we all come here with a one-way ticket, take that risk, try to flip our life around. So it's very inspirational for me to see you doing what you're doing, and it pushes me through as well. So thank you so much
Of course.
again, thank you so much for being on this call with me. It's a huge encouragement for me to go ahead in my own journey, and I want to wish you all the best for your own journey as well.
Thank you. Same to you, Sampada. Glad you're doing what you're doing. Good luck with everything.
All right. Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
All right.